So welcome back to the Honourable Truth, a Canterbury Boys podcast in partnership with the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. This is episode number 3, and we have a very special guest for episode 3 who will be taking us through our education journey. He has played 256 games at NRL level and 21 tests for the New Zealand Kiwis. I speak of none other than Canterbury legend Sam Perrett. Sam, welcome.
Thanks, Nathan. Thanks for having us on.
No, not a problem. Thank you for your time. I understand you're a very busy man these days with your construction company.
Yep. We specialise in custom homes, building around Sydney, and we've got a nice team going there, so we're really enjoying what we do, and hopefully there's plenty more work in the future as well.
Awesome, and I want to hear a lot more about that, but this first sort of section of our podcast is always about education, so we're here to talk about your journey in education.
Yeah.
We're a high school, so let's kick off with high school. Wikipedia says you went to Palm Beach Currumbin High School.
Yeah, PBC on the Gold Coast there. They specialise in rugby league, so they've got their sports specialty programs there, and very blessed to be a part of that. But outside of rugby league, I was always fond in construction and graphics, anything to do with designing, building, construction. It was always my passion, so woodwork, metalwork, graphics, anything along those lines I was heavily involved in.
Oh, nice. So with that, you obviously took all those electives and always in the metalwork room or the woodwork room?
That's right, yeah. I just found, all of us naturally have our strengths and our weaknesses and things that, I guess, pique our interest more than others. And for me, that's what it was. Instead of, I guess, going through theory, I love being hands-on, and most football players are.
Yeah.
But I love being hands-on. I loved working in a team, and I love designing and creating things.
And you said that Palm Beach Currumbin has the rugby league program. So how did that work, and what did that sort of look like for you? It was footy in the morning, then a normal 8:30 to 3:30 school day, or?
Yep, yeah, that's it. So we had a couple of sessions a week where we had the big couple of hour training session together as a full squad, a team squad, and that would range from our younger players all the way up to the senior players. And then there'd be basically a class most days. So it'd be like any other subject.
Yeah.
And if you were in that program, they would often split your senior year over 3 years, so that way you're able to fit in all your other classes and electives on top of doing your sports excellence program, which was rugby league.
And your senior program was split over the 3 years, was it?
I was different because I came into Palm Beach Currumbin just for my last 2 years, so I did it just a standard 2-year option, but I was able to fit in everything I needed to as well. So, but most of the players, when they come there as a younger player, they have a 3-year senior, which works out really well for them.
And what was your subjects in year 11 and 12 in those senior years? What subjects were you doing?
So it was pretty much we had sports management, we had, I did all my metalwork, woodwork, graphics, then we had English and maths. What was the other one? There was one more sports science class, and then I forget the name of it, but then rugby league. So that was pretty much what I focused on.
And rugby league as a subject?
Yeah, that's right. And that's how the sports excellence program works at PBC.
Okay. So how did you find the balance of that with everything with rugby league and going down that pathway with attaining an education? Yeah,
it was, there's challenges to it, but I think when you enjoy what you do, it definitely helps out a lot, makes it easier. But I was, outside of rugby league, so I think in terms of volume for rugby league, that was probably the heaviest time in my life,
even as it or not. A professional?
Even as a professional,
oh, wow.
Yes, because we'd have school training, school games, then we'd have club training, club games, then you'd have school reps, and you'd have club reps. Yep. So at times you were basically training for and playing for 4 different teams. So that's where the volume really crept up, and I think it can be dangerous if that's not well looked after. But outside of that, I loved work experience. So I loved looking for everything that I wanted to pursue as a full-time career. So I had a dabble in boat building, plumbing. I worked in an architect's firm. I worked in a gym as a personal trainer. I worked, my very first paid job was with my uncle in landscaping as a labourer. So the whole idea for me, I wanted to try a whole lot of different things to find out what it is that I loved.
And that was rugby league, or
Definitely rugby league.
for a period in your life? And
Absolutely. So, yeah, I was always, once I went to Palm Beach Currumbin, the goal was to be able to make a career out of it. However, something that my father, he drilled into me since I was, a young teenager, whether or not rugby league works out, you have to have something to go into either when that finishes or at the same time.
Yeah.
And he was always fond of construction and trades, and by chance, that's what I love to do anyway. So I'm really grateful for that advice. And when I basically started full-time at the Roosters, that's what I did. I went straight into carpentry, and I was doing night classes at TAFE.
oh wow,
Yeah, so full-time training, obviously there was a big expectation and most of my time taken up. So the only way I could fit in the TAFE classes at work was at night, and then on my days off and during spare hours of the day, I was going out on building sites and learning.
oh wow. So that started as soon as your first grade career started.
Yeah, pretty much, or before, while I was still playing in the Jersey Flag in the reserve grade, I was always doing that. But it turned out to be a real blessing because, it took me 3 years to do the Cert 3 in carpentry during the night classes, and then it took me another couple of years to get the experience required on site to get your licence.
Yeah.
And then as soon as that finished, I went straight into my Cert 4 for building and construction to become a builder. And then I started that at the Roosters and I finished it at the Bulldogs. And, thank goodness I did all that because, it really gave me a balance to my life where, as much as I love football, sometimes you had bad days on the field.
Yeah.
And then I'd love getting out on site and just being completely refreshed and excited to be out there, watching the next stage of a build project happen.
Yeah, and just being another guy on site rather than the guy that did that on the footy field.
Exactly right. It was a bit of an escape.
Yeah. So we're both with when you were at school and when you were playing professionally and studying in TAFE, it seems that time management would be something big and something you'd have to have very good skills in.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, you definitely need to manage your time correctly. We all have the same amount of hours in a day, so you want to be putting it towards something that's going to be bringing you results or moving you towards your goals where you want to go. If I had spent all my spare time, just playing the PlayStation or the Xbox all the time, as fun as that is, and there's good times to do that, there's also times where you have to be preparing and working towards a bigger goal.
Yeah, and that's advice that any student or any parent listening can pass on to their school-age child. Do you have any other sort of tips to be able to achieve what you've achieved, not only on the football field, but with your construction company, Perrett Construction Company?
Yes, yep. So I think looking back at my journey, advice I'd give is to try, if you're not sure what it is that you love, try lots of different things, because finding out what you don't like is important. You know, if you can identify 5 or 6 things that you don't enjoy, that you definitely don't, you don't want to go down, that's a good thing because you're heading closer towards your target, something that's going to be fulfilling for you. So try lots of different things. If you already know what it is that you love, find out from your teachers, from your parents, from someone who's already been there and done that. Find out what the best pathway is to get to where you want to go. So if you already know what you love, that's a fantastic thing. Find out the best pathway to get there.
That is very pertinent advice for everyone. Can I just quickly ask you, at what age did you sort of figure out that construction was the go for you?
Yeah, it would have been my early years at the Roosters, because during school I'd tried anything to do with construction. I was obviously a landscaping labourer for my uncle. I was in the plumbing business for a bit, boat building, architecture. So when I sort of stood back and looked at everything, realising that I loved metalwork and woodwork at school, graphics, I sort of figured out, you know what, this is what I like to do. I really love building homes. And that's when it sort of dawned on me. And that's where I pulled the trigger, went into carpentry and started the process.
And how old were you?
I would have been about 19, 20, somewhere around there.
So sometimes it does take that little bit of time outside in the world to figure out what you need to do, and that's okay as well.
Absolutely. As long as you're working towards trying to find what it is, if you don't know, as long as you're working towards trying to find something, you're on the right path. Some people know when they're 15. some of my friends and family, some of them are 30 and they're still sort of wondering. But
Still trying to find that thing that'll grab them.
Correct. And I feel that if they had tried a few more things, they could have sped that up as well.
Yeah. So manage your time appropriately. Try everything and anything so you can rule stuff out or find your passion. Any other sort of final tips or words of advice you'd give to people doing their schooling?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in mentoring and finding good people, so a good support crew, and even just if it's just one person, whether it's a parent or whether it's a business owner or a teacher or someone who's basically where you would like to be. I think that's important. If you can find someone that's supportive and experienced, that's going to go a long way for you.
That's great advice, and I think that sort of wraps up our time here today. Thank you so much for your time and for coming in. It's been great, and it's been very interesting for me and for everyone listening. So, thanks again, Sam.
I appreciate it, Nathan.